With us are three very unique and interesting laptops. Two have dual screens, the Asus ZenBook Duo and Lenovo's YogaBook 9i, and one has a folding screen, the ThinkPad X1 Fold. Taylor, Ethan and I have all been using these devices for the last month or so, and honestly, we were all pleasantly surprised. Everyone liked at least one of them. Since I value your time, I'm not going to make you watch the whole video. Instead, I'm just going to straight up tell you what we found. These devices are incredibly promising and very helpful for certain use cases. You can conduct research on one screen and summarize it on the other. Or you can stream a game on Twitch on one screen while reading your chat's comments on the other. More screen real estate in general, it just makes you more productive. Also, we all appreciated the improved ergonomics of using these types of devices. You see, all of them have a primary mode where the displays extend vertically. This meant that we were looking forward rather than looking down like you do on a normal laptop. And that placed less strain on our necks and back. But there are sacrifices. Performance is pretty woeful on all these devices, and in general, they just need more time to mature. There were usability kinks that we found in all of them. Out of the three though, the ZenBook Duo is the most polished, and because of that, is likely the device that most people should buy. But each of these just have individual pros and cons. So let's go through them right now. The Asus ZenBook Duo is a laptop composed of two distinct 14-inch OLED displays. It comes with a wireless keyboard and trackpad unit that fits completely over the second screen. This allows you to use the device as a traditional laptop, which also makes it compact and easy to carry around. And when in that mode, the keyboard unit charges, which is very convenient. Now, when you take the keyboard and trackpad off, it immediately connects via Bluetooth to the device. You can then use it in several different modes. The primary one is the dual screen mode. That's where the screens are stacked vertically on top of each other. You can adjust the angle using the kickstand attached to the back of the device. In that mode though, the screen is actually a little further away from your eyes than a normal laptop's would be, so we often had to zoom in to compensate. This meant that we didn't get the full benefit of having that extra screen. Now, you can also use the device opened like a book. In this mode, it leans back on the kickstand. Unfortunately, in this mode, the kickstand's angle is not adjustable, so you're stuck using the device from an odd angle. And the device doesn't open up evenly like a book would. One of the screens comes forward and the other back a bit. Overall, it's really a disjointed experience. Finally, you can lay the Duo flat on the desk for a sharing mode. Now, in all these modes, the typing experience feels a little uncomfortable. That's because the keyboard trackpad unit doesn't have legs to raise it up, so you're typing on a very low flat surface. And if you use the device in its laptop mode, your hands are raised up more than normal. That's because the device is a bit thicker than a regular laptop. However, if you can get over those issues, which Ethan and Taylor could, the keyboard and trackpad are actually quite good. Keys have decent travel, they are full size, and the layout is standard. And on the trackpad, it is large and accurate. But one last little nit that I want to mention is that even though the device charges the wireless keyboard when it is docked, it is one-way charging. The USB-C port on the keyboard deck does not charge the laptop. Therefore, make sure you don't accidentally plug the charger into the wrong USB-C port. Now, on the ports, the ZenBook Duo is the only one of these devices that has a varied port selection. The others only give you USB-C ports. They don't even have a headphone mic combo jack. Alright, let's switch gears and talk about the YogaBook 9i. Like the Duo, it's a dual screen laptop. It uses two stunning 13.3-inch OLED displays. They offer similar brightness to the Duo. Bright enough for most use cases, but not bright enough for a very bright environment like outdoors. Anyway, the YogaBook smaller displays have the advantage of allowing it to fold up into a more compact package. Plus, it looks the most stylish of the bunch. But using it is just not as convenient. To prop it up, you have to perform origami with its included keyboard soft cover. We found this approach to be less sturdy, and it doesn't allow you to adjust the angle that the display is facing you. In its stack screen mode, the angle was fine, but in its book mode, similar to the Duo, the angle just didn't work for me. Since the YogaBook's wireless keyboard does not have an included trackpad, you have several options for controlling the cursor. You can place the keyboard on the top half of the screen and a virtual trackpad appears in the bottom half. This virtual trackpad is just not as good as a regular one. Its tracking does not feel as accurate, and when you click on it, it just does not feel like a click on a normal trackpad. The device does come with an included wireless mouse, so you can certainly use that, and I did. But it's a small one, and because of that, many people, including me, are going to find it uncomfortable. You can use the included pen, and it's great that this device actually comes with one. None of the others did. Or you can use your fingers. all of these devices do have touchscreens, but those last two pointing options, they're just not the most comfortable. Having to constantly lift your arm up and down to touch the screen, it quickly becomes tiring. Other than that, the wireless keyboard felt low travel, and unfortunately, it is the only one that is not backlit. One positive though is that even though its keyboard lacks legs like all of these, I was able to prop it up by resting the top of it on the base of the stand. That made the typing experience somewhat comfortable. Now, unlike the Duo, which charges everything with just one cable, the YogaBook's wireless keyboard must be charged separately, and its wireless mouse uses batteries. This means you have 3 separate devices to power. And when carrying the YogaBook around, it's like you're carrying around a pile of stuff you could easily drop or lose. Before we move on, the YogaBook speakers are the best of the bunch, but that isn't saying much. The sound completely lacks bass. Alright, let's talk about the X1 Fold. This is a device with a single large 16.3-inch folding OLED display. It is a step up in brightness to the other panels, and its large screen space, it just feels extremely luxurious to use, especially as this device can be used in portrait mode. Being able to see so much text going down the screen is just so helpful when writing my scripts. Yes, on a regular 16-inch laptop which uses landscape orientation, you can place 2 pages next to each other, but it just doesn't feel as seamless as reading down the page. Whether you prefer 2 separate screens or one single large one really depends on your use case. If you're comparing different documents together or running 2 applications at the same time, I feel 2 screens works better. If you're working on a lot of text going down the page like I just described, one large screen works best. But even though the ability to see one large display was definitely a treat on the X1 Fold, there are issues with it. The X1 Fold's kickstand is very finicky and not strong at all. There were numerous times when the device fell over when I tried to adjust it. And many applications are just not designed for a large portrait display. So you'll often find applications run in the center of the screen and have a ton of wasted space. And if you use the device with the screen bent, the crease becomes pretty obvious and quite distracting. But one of the biggest issues is the Fold's webcam placement. When the device is fully extended, it faces up at the ceiling and cuts off your head. And even if you angle it down, the quality, it just still isn't that good. The YogaBook 9i looks the best as its colours are the most pleasing. At the other end of the spectrum is the Duo. Its webcam has the worst colours. They just make me look sickly. Now, if you do run the X1 Fold as a laptop, be aware that just like the YogaBook, the keyboard won't charge unless it's plugged in. And on the wireless keyboard and trackpad, it is very uncomfortable to use. The issue is that Lenovo has made it the same size as the X1 Fold when the device is closed. This means it has the benefits of being portable and that it fits nicely on top of the device when you're carrying it around. But it is the same size keyboard as you'd find on a 12-inch laptop, i.e. it is tiny. Typing on it is like using a netbook from back in 2010. This makes mispressing keys a rather common occurrence, especially for the page up and down keys which are so close to the left and right arrow keys. For comparison, the X1 Fold's keyboard is about half an inch smaller in diameter than the latest X1 Carbons. And the trackpad is also massively shrunk. I constantly found my fingers just smashing into the top of it. Yes, there is a track point, but there are no physical buttons for it, so even that isn't ideal. And like the other devices, its wireless keyboard has no feet to raise it up. Overall, if you have hands the size of a small fairy or are in a pinch, this keyboard and trackpad is viable. But if I was to spend $2,500 on an X1 Fold, I'd buy a different keyboard. Anyway, given how small the X1 Fold is, it is surprisingly heavy. The woman on Lenovo's marketing page who is just sitting there casually reading from it like a book clearly is from the planet Krypton. No human being has that kind of arm strength. Finally, the X1 Fold does have one really cool feature that I just want to talk about: user presence sensing. It accurately detected when I was in front of the laptop or looking away. The moment I looked away, it dims the screen to conserve battery. You can even set it to lock the screen after a certain duration of time. This is fully customizable in Lenovo's Vantage software. Alright, let's switch gears to talk about performance. As I mentioned earlier, it's pretty bad. The worst offender is the X1 Fold. It uses a very low-end Intel processor from 2 years ago. In Geekbench, the Asus Duo appears to perform well, but that is due to the nature of this test. It runs a lot of common short-running performance tasks, but when we run even a single run of Cinebench, you can see how terrible these laptops' performance is. Anything that requires more than 30 seconds of sustained performance is going to be a problem for these devices. In fact, the X1 Fold is one of the worst performing laptops we've seen in the last 2 years. Now, the Duo seems to have okay performance amongst these devices, but when you compare it to laptops with the same CPU, you'll see that clearly you're just not getting the performance that this processor is capable of, and that you're paying for. The Yoga Pro 9i performs almost twice as fast in multi-core as this device. Yes, obviously it is a much larger laptop with better thermals and higher power delivery, but that is the point. Putting a Core Ultra 9 in the Duo is really a marketing gimmick and nothing more. It should only be available with a max of a Core Ultra 7. Now, a positive of putting a Core Ultra from Intel's H series in the Duo is that you get Intel's fantastic integrated graphics. This will enable you to enjoy some light gaming. But you would have got that same graphics with the Core Ultra 7 H processor. The YogaBook, unfortunately, has half the Duo's graphics cores with its Core Ultra U processor, so please keep that in mind. And the X1 Fold uses Intel's absolutely rubbish older integrated graphics, so I'd avoid it completely if you want to do any gaming. Let me sum up CPU performance. All these laptops felt snappy enough for casual tasks like office work and browsing the web, with the Duo and YogaBook having the latest processors performing significantly better than the X1 Fold. Now, one of the positives of these devices is the heat you feel. If you use them with their wireless keyboards, your hands are never on the device, so you don't feel any heat. That being said, the X1 Fold always felt extremely warm to the touch, even in light use. The other devices never felt that warm. However, when it comes to fan noise, it was kind of the opposite. The X1 Fold was almost always dead silent. The Duo and the YogaBook at times did have some audible fan noise in a quiet room, but it was pretty light, far from the worst we've heard. For battery life, when the devices were run in their native modes, dual screen or extended screen, the Duo and YogaBook performed very competitively with comparable laptops. This is pretty good given that they are powering 2 screens. It is probably made possible by their large batteries. When run in their laptop modes with the second screen off or used to show the trackpad only, the Duo and YogaBook eked out a bit more battery life, which is good. The X1 Fold surprisingly performed even worse here, and yes, we ran this test multiple times and the results were the same. So, let's conclude. We really enjoyed using these devices far more than we would have thought. All of us walked away feeling like they deliver clear benefits for certain types of users, and there is a definite future for these form factors. But each of them requires some polishing. For example, just having legs to raise the wireless keyboards would have massively improved the typing experience. So with that said, Taylor and Ethan ended up having a strong preference for the ZenBook Duo. That was due to how much of a polished device it is. I 100% agree with them. The Duo is probably the most useful and the one that most people should buy. But sometimes there are wildcard factors that make you personally enjoy one device over another. For me, the YogaBook 9i is just so pretty and premium feeling. And since I was able to raise the keyboard up a little, I enjoyed using the device more. When it comes to the ThinkPad X1 Fold, it is just too outdated with Intel's 12th Gen U series processor, especially as it's by far the most expensive of the bunch. Stating the obvious, due to these devices' poor performance, only buy one if you're doing light tasks. Finally, if you think you'll mostly use these devices in their laptop modes, just stop. You'd be better off buying a laptop instead. Well, that's all we got for you. Make sure to check out our website for all the devices we recommend for various types of use cases, as well as where to go to get the best deals on them. And if you aren't already watching our business channel, go check that out too. We just posted one on why companies make terrible products, and I know a lot of you are going to relate. Till next time, go do something awesome with your day, and I will catch you later.